So we are recovering in over the course of the last week or so, the thuggery, the terrorist behavior of the West. We just covered Republican senators threatening the ICC, threatening the ICJ, threatening anyone who wanted to hold Israel account. But this is not new, guys. The criminal thuggish behavior of the West is being fully exposed. And this Georgia foreign agent law is literally crazy. It's insanity, because what Georgia is simply doing is they're trying to pass a law which is identical to the laws that we have on the books in this country about the Georgia foreign agents law, making so any organization that receive at least 20% of their funding from foreign sources, foreign influences, they must report it to the government. A very reasonable law. Despite the fact that they passed this very reasonable law, the same law that many countries have on the books in our country, the United States and the West is completely melting down, which is showing their hands, because just like every country in the West, every country, actually not even the West, every country in the world, the United States pops up radical groups that are willing to sell out their people in order for the ruling class to propose pro-American, pro-Western policies. Let me just read from this. I was about to read from another one. I just want to show you guys how ridiculous the West reaction to this very reasonable law. You have color revolutions that are being funded because this law was proposed last year, and you have the West that helped kill the foreign agents bill that was proposed last year. You have these protests, and I'm not gonna lie, these protests wasn't small, because Georgia, like a lot of countries, is deeply divided. But this foreign agents bill is supported by around 70 to 75% of the population. But what the United States and the West do, they fund and they inflame the most extreme elements, the dissent. And now they're pretending that, oh my God, there are all these protests against the foreign agents bill that mostly supported by the people. And this is outlined by Canton here. Georgia has no sovereignty. After the foreign agent bill passed the parliament with 75% support, rioters sponsored by foreign agents, the NGOs, forced the bill to be withdrawn. Now, this was last year, and we're seeing similar protests now. So let me just read. I'm going to show you guys how the BBC is covering this. I had to slightly adjust because I had an AP article, but for whatever reason, the URL, the article has been pulled. I don't know why. So hopefully the BBC gives me the gems that I found in this in the AP article. So let's read this. I haven't scanned this article first like I did the other one. Let's see. The U.S. has said it is reviewing its bilateral cooperation with Georgia over its controversial foreign agents law. Controversial. Now, the AP article, and I'm seeing already the BBC is following this same talking point, where they're gonna portray this bill. In a lot of the articles I've been reading, you have to skim, you have to go paragraphs in. You have to get to like damn near the end of the article before they actually describe what the bill actually does. They will say, oh, it's a pro-Russia bill, it's a bill sponsored by Putin. It's the ruling party that is becoming too close with Russia, so they are passing this pro-Russian bill. This bill has nothing to do with Russia at all. This bill is about limiting Western and EU pressures on Georgia by having transparency, by disclosing foreign donations to organizations. But look, you guys see there, the foreign agent law that triggered weeks of mass protests that was Western-backed. And now look at this statement by Anthony Blinken. I'm glad that they included this because it was in the AP article as well. In a statement, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said Washington was introducing visa restrictions for individuals responsible for undermining democracy in Georgia. Bro, you literally cannot make this shit up. Liberals understand that if there's anything that goes against the Western order, the only thing they have to do is say it's a threat to democracy. They're literally trying to say that having transparency in a policy where organizations have to release and disclose foreign donations is a threat to democracy. Bro, we have the same law on the book, and I'm kicking myself. Chat, can you help me out? Do you guys remember the name of the law? I'm blanking. We literally have the same law that's technically on the books. It doesn't apply to Israel. Well, I guess it does technically. We know it's Israeli donations coming in, I guess. But you guys understand that we have this same exact fucking law on the books in our country? Is it Farah? Thank you guys. Damn, I can't believe I don't. I probably should probably looked it up. Yeah, let me look it up. Hell, here it is. Look at this. Thank you guys. I probably should have digged this up when I was preparing. This is policy in the United States. The Foreign Agents Registration Act. The Foreign Agents Registration Act was enabled in 1938. FARA requires certain agents of foreign principals who are engaged in political activities or other activities specified under the statute to make periodic public disclosure of the relationship with the foreign principal, as well as activities, receipts, and disbursements in support of those activities. So there's so many things that's so hilarious about this story. But this is just another example of Western hypocrisy. So we have the same law in the book, but when Georgia proposes it, it's all of a sudden a Russian bill. That was the language that the AP was using. I didn't read this article before. We're going through this together for the first time. So the AP, and they were describing it as a pro-Russian bill. They put in sanctions on Georgia. There's legislation being passed. There are discussions being had about reevaluating our relationship with Georgia because they're becoming too close to Putin. You guys understand this talking point is all based on this bill, a same bill that we have in our country. And bro, I got something else that I'm gonna show you guys. Where you had the EU openly threatening Georgian officials with assassination for supporting this bill. So when you see the reactions of the West, because Russia and China support this bill, I remember reading that. I might have fact checked myself on that because I just remember seeing that. Russia was supportive of this bill. Meanwhile, the entirety of the West, UK, France, the United States, they are melting down over the fact that people in Georgia have to disclose their donations if it's foreign. So what does that say? That alone is them admitting that they constantly engage in CIA activities in Georgia to manipulate them into being pro-West and anti-Russia. So once again, I will acknowledge that there are protests in the streets, but these protests are Western-backed and Western-funded. The Georgian parliament adopted the bill on foreign agents in its first reading, immediately following the bill's passage. As many as 10,000 protesters took the streets to the capital. I don't know how to pronounce it, but their capital. The French president of Georgia once again promised to veto the law on foreign agents. Remember, 75% of elected officials support the foreign agents law because they acknowledge how big of a threat foreign influence is on their country and their national security. But Georgia apparently is not allowed to defend themselves. That's only for Nazi regimes like one in Ukraine and for Nazi Zionist regimes in Israel, apparently. Look, those who oppose the bill criticize it as pro-Russian, despite its undeniable similarities to American laws on the same page. Now you guys see why the West is losing influence? Because I follow corporate media. No one in the West is talking about this. When they do talk about this, they leaving a lot out. They leave, like I've seen entire corporate media segments we don't have time for today. I'm already going over. Where they would talk about this bill without actually explaining to the audience what it is. They would say, oh my God, Georgia, it is another example of Putin influence. They would do a whole last 5 to 8 minute segment, never describe what the bill is. Because they know they're in the wrong. You had the Georgia Dream Party. So the Georgia Dream Party is the party that is pushing this bill, which the figurehead president don't support. Once again, I've been learning a lot about Georgia, but they have like a figurehead president that will veto this without the support. They are big advocates of this, and they even have support from the other side. And once again, this is mostly popular among the populists, but it's not like a unified China or Russia, for example. I will acknowledge that. This is just like in Ukraine and just like in Taiwan, when there's more of like a 70-30 split. About 70% of the country supports this bill, but then you have 30% who've been tricked by CIA, Western propaganda. They fall for the color revolution ops, and they are the ones who oppose it. But the critics of the bill are the people who are lying. They are the enemies of the truth. And think about who these extremists are in Georgia, who wants to create a shadow government where organizations, politicians can get money from foreign agencies and not disclose it. Does that sound like people who want to have the best interests of their country at heart? So once again, this is my country, and I'm not making judgments on this. I just know where my principles lie, and I obviously see who is in the correct here. One country want to protect its sovereignty against Western foreign invasion versus the other side who want to sell their people out. It's a story as old as time. Just like in South Vietnam. Just like those class traders in Korea. A tale as old as time. Pick out the dissidents and fund them. Just like Juan Guaido and their friends' party in Venezuela. Just like Alexei Navalny and his friends' party in Russia. This is a long time Western strategy. Now, if they accuse U.S. of threats and blackmail, you have the Dream Party that supports the foreign agents bill. They're saying, guys, what the West is doing right now is crazy. I'm going to show you guys an example of that here very soon. What the West is doing is completely crazy. Like, they're threatening sanctions, travel bans. Look, and this is what I put up earlier. The U.S. Senate is considering bipartisan Georgia sanctions. So it's not just the Republicans here. You got Democrats. I actually need to look up what Democrats are on. I'm assuming like the John Fetterman, Chuck Schumer wing. New Hampshire Democrat Jean Shaheen. Don't know her, but you guys got to remember, like 80% of the Democratic Party are like just unapologetic neocons. You don't know who they are. They work in secret, just pumping the empire up. So this is bipartisan. The U.S. bill will impose travel bans and other sanctions on Georgia politicians for obstructing Georgia's Euro-Atlantic integration. Let me repeat that. I kind of butchered it. They accuse these politicians for protecting their sovereignty and essentially proposing a bill that they have in our country. A very reasonable bill, they're saying, would obstruct Georgia's Euro-Atlantic integration. The West is ran by thugs, my friends. Stop using civility politics. They call us criminals. White America have the audacity to call me and my community criminals, and they openly rebel against international law. They overthrow the sovereignty of other countries. They support genocide. They support economic sanctions against 1/3 of the population. They violate the sovereignty of countries, destabilize entire regions. But they think my communities are thugs? They think you guys think we're violent? You guys think we're against the rule of law, even though I'm a law-abiding citizen? The majority of our community is. How white Americans say, oh, look at all those thugs and criminals in the black community. It's the European Western society that outright breaks the law all the time. They believe in relaxed, laissez-faire, libertarian interpretation of the law in terms of the ruling class in white America, but then they want to impose harsh authoritarian law and order on the black community because we have kids that steal Skittles every once in a while. We're not stealing entire fucking regions. We're not hijacking the entire infrastructure of a nation. When have black Americans, when have black people ever destabilized an entire whole ass region as you guys, anyway, I'm just ranting now. No, I mean, but this is their ideology. I had to point out, it's their ideology. And it's the ideology of the West and Europeans. I'll tell you guys, they're not holding back because this is what we see. A lot of white people are confused, but this is what we see. You guys think your society is so enlightened. You guys think you're so enlightened. You guys think that everyone else is barbarians. It's you guys that's the barbarians. It's you guys that engage in violent colonialism. It's you guys that rely on slavery. When you look at the global majority, when you look at indigenous people, they was more than happy with their living conditions. They was more than happy with taking care of each other. It was the white majority, the European and the white American, who they just wanted more. So selfish, they wanted to enslave people. They wanted to kill and overthrow nations because they just wanted it all. And those same people, without blinking, would criticize China, Iran. Look at the savages in China. Look at the savages in Africa. They are extremely judgmental of every culture as they are the thugs. As they are the ones who rebel against international law. As they are the ones with the most blood on their hands. So this channel is not the place to go if you want to keep your identity as Western chauvinist intact. Look, you guys see how long you had to go in the article before they describe what this pro-Russian bill is? Look, passed last week, the law requires non-governmental organizations and independent media that receive more than 20% of their funding from foreign donors to register as organizations bearing the interests of a foreign power. Guys, that's reasonable as fuck. You couldn't get a more reasonable fucking law than this. This is the law that they are describing as upending the Euro-Georgian integration. This is the law that Democrats are teaming up with Republicans in order to pass sanctions on Georgia because apparently sanctioning 1/3 of the world's population is not enough